I mean, they're projected to lose between 2 and 400 million on this.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Have you ever wondered how a single movie could shake the very foundation of a company as powerful as Disney? In one corner, you have a billion DLR brand built on magic, nostalgia, and family-friendly stories. In the other stands a rising star named Rachel Zegler, poised to redefine an iconic fairy tale for the modern era. Or so everyone thought. What happened next shocked fans, baffled executives, and left a trail of controversies that might just reshape how we see Hollywood's greatest powerhouse. Strap in. This is the story of how Disney's live-action Snow White went from a surefire bet to a corporate nightmare, complete with rumored closed-door deals, brand-damaging interviews, and an alleged hunt for financial restitution from its once bright new star. Don't blink, because this roller coaster of revelations and rumors doesn't slow down for a second. The original Snow White is more than just a cartoon. It's the bedrock upon which the Walt Disney Empire was built. Debuting in 1937, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs wasn't just the first full-length animated feature film from Disney. It was a pioneering achievement that astonished audiences worldwide. Children and adults alike were enchanted by a kind-hearted princess, a sweet love story, and a group of charming dwarfs whose names became synonymous with innocence and fun. For decades, Snow White has symbolized the wonder of classic animation, an artifact of simpler times. Generations grew up humming, "Someday my prince will come," while gazing at that iconic princess in her vibrant dress. The story had remained virtually untouched, its legacy preserved in theme park rides, merchandise, and holiday broadcasts. In short, it was a beloved piece of cultural heritage. Messing with this historic gem meant taking on a massive responsibility and a giant risk. But this was Disney's grand experiment. Could they replicate the success of their live-action reimaginings for a new generation? Films like The Lion King and Aladdin had soared, raking in major box office returns. With Snow White, though, there was a new, untested star at the center of it all. From the outside, it seemed like a no-brainer. From the inside, the pressure was immense. The legacy was supposed to carry the film to box office glory, bridging old fans and new audiences. Instead, rumors of behind-the-scenes drama and ill-conceived interviews would soon reveal that not all was well in this idyllic kingdom. The question wasn't whether Snow White was still relevant. It was whether Disney could successfully update a classic without alienating the fans who made it iconic in the first place. But the biggest surprise of all? The flames of controversy didn't come from the usual corners of critics or outraged parents. They sparked from the film's lead actress herself, a newcomer with a meteoric past. A brand built on nostalgia is a powerful ally, unless you fail to respect the legacy. Next, we meet the bright-eyed actress set to rewrite Disney history, and why some say she accidentally lit the match that burned it all down. Before becoming embroiled in this Snow White saga, Rachel Zegler was hailed as the next big thing in Hollywood. Her breakout role in Steven Spielberg's remake of West Side Story positioned her as a fresh face with serious vocal and acting chops. Critics praised her range. Fans admired her seemingly down-to-earth persona. Disney must have seen a golden opportunity, a new star to champion their mission of revitalizing classic tales for the streaming age. Early press kits painted Rachel as the perfect combination of youthful energy and old soul charm. She was photographed beaming on red carpets, occasionally singing snippets of Disney songs in interviews. At first, it all seemed like a dream come true, a modern-day Cinderella story, where an emerging actress steps into the glass slipper of an iconic princess and captures hearts worldwide. Yet, beneath the glitz and praise, subtle murmurs floated around. Industry watchers noted that Rachel's social media accounts had a noticeable edge. She wasn't just a wide-eyed newbie, she was outspoken, unafraid to share political opinions, and quick to fire back at critics online. Some admired her candor, but others worried that her directness could clash with Disney's squeaky clean brand image. When news broke that she would portray Snow White, the reaction was largely positive. Disney stoked anticipation by touting the film as a bold reimagining that would appeal to modern audiences. Rachel herself initially played into that narrative, promising a respectful yet contemporary take on the classic story. Interviews showcased her excitement. She was about to star in one of the most famous fairy tales of all time. Fans, while cautious, were ready to give her a chance. Little did anyone know that a few offhand comments and an onslaught of social media speculation would unravel the hype. As the film's production trudged forward and promotional events started lining up, the once fervent excitement around Rachel and her big Disney break took a sharp detour. Instead of Disney doubling down on the star power, rumors brewed that they had to start rethinking how to handle an actress who wasn't afraid to speak her mind, even if it ruffled feathers. From dream casting to uncertain headlines, this is where the fairy tale took a turn. Next, we'll uncover how Rachel's own words ignited a tidal wave of backlash that not even Disney's legendary PR machine could contain. Everything seemed to change the moment Rachel Zegler sat down for a series of interviews about the Snow White remake. Instead of the usual corporate scripted praise for the original film, Rachel offered a brutally honest take. She dismissed the 1937 classic as creepy and described the prince as a borderline stalker. In an era where many fans hold these vintage stories close to their hearts, her bluntness struck a nerve. Social media ignited like a powder keg. Was Rachel insulting Walt Disney's legacy, or was she just being real? Some fans appreciated the attempt to modernize the fairy tale, arguing that yes, the original might reflect outdated ideas about romance and agency, but others were outraged, feeling as though she was mocking a childhood staple that generations had cherished. Worse yet, the way she delivered these criticisms didn't land softly. Rachel's words came off as dismissive, almost sneering at the notion of the traditional Snow White story. Memes and tweets started swirling, branding her as the actress who hates Snow White. Not My Snow White began trending. Suddenly, a project that was supposed to celebrate Disney's origins seemed to be tearing that origin to shreds. Disney's top brass reportedly went into damage control mode. Insiders whispered that executives were alarmed by how swiftly the way negativity built. While some argued that Rachel's commentary aligned with a more feminist, modern approach to fairy tales, the optics were impossible to ignore. A chunk of Disney's loyal audience, families who treasured the classic, were feeling alienated, even betrayed. To make matters worse, older social media posts from Rachel's personal accounts resurfaced. She'd made strong political statements, heavily criticizing a swath of potential moviegoers who might not share her views. In a perfect world, an entertainer's political leanings might not overshadow her work. But in a climate as polarized as ours, every tweet can spark a raging controversy. And for a mega brand like Disney, broad appeal is everything. On the one hand, some fans lauded her for not shying away from her convictions. On the other, the brand's internal teams were reportedly freaking out. Controversies can sometimes boost ticket sales, but not if they tarnish the very essence of what the movie stands for. Here, the messaging was painfully clear. Snow White was no longer about the magic of an iconic fairy tale. It was a battleground of cultural ideals. The theater public drama was enough, but behind closed doors, Disney's alarm bells rang even louder. Next, we explore how executive panic set in, and why some say the seeds of a financial catastrophe were already planted. By now, the negative chatter was impossible to ignore. High-level Disney executives were reportedly convening in a series of urgent meetings, trying to figure out if the Snow White remake was hurtling toward a PR meltdown. The production's budget, rumored to be anywhere from $170 to $270 million, was too massive to shrug off. Every cost overrun, every delay, and every reshoot made the project more precarious. Add a potential crisis of public perception, and it was a recipe for disaster. Inside these hush-hush gatherings, some argued that the entire brand was at stake. Snow White was Disney's foundational story. Allowing it to flop could send a dire message to the market. Maybe Disney had lost its Midas touch. Meanwhile, a portion of the team insisted that the storm would blow over once people actually saw the movie. That camp believed the haters were just a vocal minority on social media. Yet behind the scenes, the vibe was tense. Rumors spread about possible script changes mid-production, attempts to sanitize or recontextualize some of Rachel's statements, and even more radical measures to contain the fallout. One insider supposedly mentioned morality clauses, the kind that let a studio penalize an actor if their behavior or statements damage a film's commercial prospects. Suddenly, Rachel's outspoken ways weren't just a social media curiosity, they were a potential legal liability. Meanwhile, the marketing department tried to put on a brave face. Official promotional materials were carefully curated, shining a spotlight on the film's lush visuals and the timeless magic angle. But even the best marketing can't silence an angry internet. Disney's top brass watched as our boycott Snow White churned through Twitter feeds daily, fueled by fans who felt the remake was disrespecting their childhood memories, and a leading lady who seemed to sneer at them in interviews. From the outside, the tension was mostly speculation. But inside Disney's fabled walls, it was real enough to spark rumors about crisis PR teams being assigned specifically to coach Rachel on how to respond to questions. Some claimed that an entire department was tasked with monitoring her social media around the clock, ready to flag any incendiary posts. It might sound extreme, but when hundreds of millions of DLLRs are on the line, image control can become an all-consuming priority. All these warning signs set the stage for what would become one of Disney's most talked-about fiascos in decades. Up next, the moment of truth. The box office results that no one expected and the meltdown that followed. Opening weekend arrived like a tense drumroll. Everyone wondered whether the controversy might paradoxically drive curious viewers to theaters, or whether the negative chatter would seal the movie's fate. Early numbers trickled in, and they weren't just underwhelming. They were abysmal by Disney standards. According to insiders, the film struggled to surpass $40+ million in its first domestic weekend, a shockingly low figure given the brand recognition. International markets fared no better, adding another chunk that barely nudged total earnings toward $80+ million. In any context, those are big numbers. But when your film's budget ballooned deep into 9 figures, that kind of opening spells catastrophe. Disney executives reportedly panicked. Some started pointing fingers at the marketing team, the creative leads, the script changes, and, of course, Rachel Zegler. Staffers whispered about heated arguments in the corridors. All the behind-the-scenes drama had come to a head, and the results were humiliating. A once untouchable studio had bet on a nostalgic classic, only to watch it crash and burn in real time. Worse than the raw box office data was the absence of any positive word of mouth. Even films that open slowly can gather momentum if audiences walk out with raving recommendations. But this time, social media was aflame with scathing memes and frustration from casual moviegoers who felt the flick missed the mark. Critics piled on too, calling it a bloated remake that misunderstood the charm of the original, weighed down by heavy-handed attempts at modern commentary. For Rachel Zegler, the meltdown stung on multiple levels. This was supposed to be her crowning moment, her graduation from breakout newbie to leading lady powerhouse. Instead, she found herself at the center of a swirling blame game. Disney might have gambled on her ability to bring a fresh perspective to Snow White, but now some alleged they wanted compensation for what they deemed brand damage. The idea that a studio could demand restitution from its own star was practically unheard of, yet the rumor mill insisted it was on the table. As the weekend numbers continued to disappoint, Disney's crisis mode escalated. The film's promotional budget had soared high, banking on that typical family turnout. Instead, negative or neutral reactions dominated the media cycle. People who might have spent money on tickets stayed home, turned to streaming, or found themselves repelled by the controversies. A modern retelling had turned into a cautionary tale, and the company's top brass were caught in an unthinkable position. A flop that not only cost them hundreds of millions but also chipped away at the Disney brand's Teflon reputation. With the box office results in, and the blame game intensifying, a new bombshell was about to drop. Whispers of forced apologies, legal scuffles, and a possible give-us-our-money-back scenario that shook Hollywood to its core. In the days and weeks after the disastrous premiere, rumors flew that Disney held a top-secret meeting about what to do next. Executives allegedly deliberated whether Rachel Zegler's public behavior and controversial remarks constituted a breach of contract. Morality clauses in Hollywood deals aren't new, but it's rare to see them invoked so openly, especially when a star is still in the prime of their promotional cycle. Some insiders insisted that Disney's PR department ghostwrote portions of a carefully worded apology that Rachel posted on her social channels. The language was notably softer and more polished than her usual fiery style, leading many to suspect she was forced into it. The apology tried to cast her earlier, remarks as misunderstandings or clumsy attempts at humor, but the public's reaction was lukewarm at best. Critics argued that the statement felt corporate, formulaic, and suspiciously timed. People demanded a sincere explanation for what they saw as a mocking attitude toward the original film and its fans. Instead, they got an essay that read like, "It had been edited by a committee. If the goal was damage control, it only stoked more cynicism." Meanwhile, Rachel herself seemed torn, occasionally liking posts that defended her, or cryptically tweeting that she was still proud of her performance. The real shocker was the persistent rumor that Disney wanted financial restitution from Rachel for brand damage. Such a move would be unprecedented, opening a can of worms about whether an actor could be penalized for off-screen controversies. Some legal experts weighed in online, debating the strength of morality clauses. Could the studio argue that her public behavior cost them revenue? Was it fair to hold a single performer accountable for a film's box office flop? Supporters of Rachel claimed Disney was scapegoating her. After all, the final product had scripting and directing issues beyond her control, right? But those inside, the company saw her as a walking PR crisis, overshadowing the film's core message and alienating fans. They pointed to interviews where she openly mocked the beloved romance storyline, turned off older audiences, and triggered political backlash that a family brand like Disney typically wants to avoid. Whether or not the restitution rumors prove true, the mere suggestion is enough to send shockwaves through Hollywood. Studios have always tried to control the narrative surrounding their big stars, but demanding money back is a new frontier. Some insiders claim it might remain a last resort, used primarily as leverage to quiet any further inflammatory commentary. Others believe Disney might be serious about setting a precedent. If an actor jeopardizes a blockbuster, the studio won't go down without a fight. Regardless of the outcome, the fallout extended beyond Disney's gates. Hollywood is watching, and Rachel's peers are wondering, has she become too hot to handle? Let's see how the rest of the industry is responding. The Hollywood grapevine works fast. Word spread like wildfire that Disney's Snow White remake was imploding, and Rachel Zegler was at the center. Producers, casting agents, and executives at other studios watched the fiasco unfold, each drawing their own conclusions. Some quietly sided with Rachel, seeing Disney's rumored restitution demands as overkill. Others took one look at the blowback and decided to steer clear of any potential minefields. Reports surfaced that a few projects in early development quietly dropped her from their potential cast lists. Supposedly, producers felt that the negative publicity surrounding her name could overshadow the merits of any new film. In an industry where profit margins hinge on public perception, no one wanted to gamble on a star who seemed to be carrying a swirling storm cloud of controversies. Hollywood also took note of the generational divides at play. Rachel belongs to a generation raised in the era of constant social media engagement, where boundaries between personal opinion and public persona can blur. Traditional studios built on carefully curated images are still grappling with how to handle celebrities, who tweet first and apologize later. The Snow White meltdown could become a cautionary example in PR textbooks, a testament to how quickly a big-budget dream can unravel when audience trust is broken. Complicating matters further is the ideological fault line. Some industry insiders championed Rachel's blunt approach, arguing that she's simply voicing progressive stances and expecting major studios to catch up. Others claimed her tone was the real issue. She didn't just critique the original Snow White, she all but insulted the fans who hold it dear. In an entertainment landscape shaped increasingly by fan loyalty and brand synergy, that's a dangerous line to cross. Meanwhile, the fiasco also raised broader questions. Are we nearing the end of Disney's live-action remake era? Many of these reimagined classics have done well commercially, but critics have often slammed them for lacking the charm and spontaneity of the originals. Snow White might be a turning point, showing that not every iconic film can be modernized without risking the wrath of die-hard fans. Add a polarizing star to the mix, and the potential for a high-profile flop grows exponentially, if so. Many lessons emerging from this meltdown. What does the future hold for Disney, for Rachel Zegler, and for the concept of remaking timeless classics? The final chapter explores the bigger picture, plus what might come next for everyone involved. Disney's blueprint for success has long rested on the power of nostalgia. From plush toy lines to theme park expansions, the House of Mouse knows how to capitalize on your childhood memories. But the Snow White debacle suggests that nostalgia can become a ticking time bomb if a remake openly disparages the original source. You can't bank on generational goodwill while undermining what made people love the classic in the first place. In the aftermath, industry chatter hints that Disney might revisit its remake everything strategy. Sure, the live-action formula worked with Beauty and the Beast or The Jungle Book, but even then, fans wanted respectful tributes, not heavy-handed reinventions. Modernizing a fairy tale isn't the problem. Belittling its essence often is. Audiences can smell condescension a mile away, and Rachel's interviews, whether intentionally or not, were drenching in it. There's also the issue of brand image. Disney is famously protective, often requiring squeaky clean conduct from its talent. But we're in a new era where actors feel emboldened to speak freely on social issues, sometimes clashing with a brand's ethos of broad commercial appeal. The Snow White fiasco might become the prime example of how a mismatch between corporate expectations and personal authenticity can spiral into a fiasco that leaves both parties bruised. For the next wave of remakes or any big-budget productions, studios will likely screen potential leads with an even more critical eye toward past social media posts, public statements, and personal attitudes. While some see this as an infringement on free expression, the reality is that brand image remains paramount when hundreds of millions are on the line. No studio wants to repeat the same mistakes that led to a humiliating financial shortfall and a PR meltdown. At the same time, these controversies highlight a pressing question. Where do we draw the line between accountability and artistic freedom? Should an actor be penalized so harshly for being candid, even if their comments come off as rude or condescending? And do fans hold too much power in dictating which projects thrive or die? The fiasco suggests that the relationship between a brand and its consumers is more fragile than ever. If fans feel disrespected, they'll stay home. Or worse, they'll drive social media campaigns that actively discourage ticket sales. It's a powerful reminder that success in Hollywood hinges on balancing modern ideals with a deep respect for the timeless elements people grew up loving. So, is there a road to redemption? Up next, the conclusion that ties it all together and asks the question on everyone's mind. Did Disney bury itself, or does Snow White's meltdown have one more twist in store? It's easy to see the Snow White remake as a one-off disaster, a film that simply missed its mark. But look closer, and you'll find a saga that reflects the shifting ground under Hollywood's feet. From the iconic original that laid Disney's foundation to a modern meltdown fueled by social media feuds and alleged backroom demands for restitution, this story has all the drama of a cautionary fairy tale, and then some. Rachel Zegler arrived as a promising actress, gifted with a dream role that could have launched her into the stratosphere of family entertainment icons. Instead, she's at risk of becoming a case study in what happens when candor clashes with a legacy brand. Disney, for its part, now faces an unenviable task. Figure out how to preserve the magic that made it a global juggernaut while wrestling with modern audiences that crave authenticity but won't tolerate perceived disrespect toward cherished classics. Where does that leave you, the viewer? Perhaps you'll reevaluate these live-action remakes. Maybe you'll take a closer look at who's behind the scenes, how they handle controversy, and which stories truly deserve a reimagining. One thing is certain, the Snow White fiasco has shattered the illusion that Disney is immune to public backlash. Will Rachel Zegler rebound from this storm, or is she destined to be overshadowed by the controversy for years to come? Will Disney revert to safer strategies, or double down on forging new paths for well-worn fairy tales? The answers aren't set in stone, but one truth remains. In Hollywood, fortunes can change faster than you can say, "Mirror, mirror on the wall." What do you think? Can this storied studio and its once promising star find redemption? Or did Snow White's bombshell reveal the cracks in a much larger Disney empire? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want more behind-the-scenes scoops on Hollywood's wildest tales. Thank you for sticking with me through this incredible story. Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and remember, in a world where fairy tales can crumble, overnight nothing is guaranteed to end happily ever after.